Hey guys, it's Lou. How you doing today? My video that I'm doing today is a thread response to, I think it was started originally by Brian at Black Beans and Rice, I think is his channel's name. And I've seen a few videos. The two that stick out for me, obviously Brian's original video, and then he did a second video showing 10 artists that you've seen live, and I also saw Sam's video over at the Vinyl Douche, and it was after watching Sam's video that I thought, man, he's named some really good bands there. Let me do my own video, and I'm gonna sort of throw a little twist in there. After I show 10 bands, 10 artists that I've seen live, I'm gonna throw in at the very end 3 artists that I haven't seen live that I absolutely regret not seeing live. And it's not going to be like, I'm not going to name people like the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix or people like that, people I would never have had the opportunity to see, nor will I mention Bob Marley as well, because I really didn't start going to concerts until I think the early 80s, and unfortunately by that point Bob Marley had passed away. So it's going to be bands that I could have seen and now are no longer together, and kind of lost the opportunity, and now I kind of regret it. So first of all, 10 bands. I'm going to show the album, in most cases hopefully, of the tour that I saw the band, or the closest album to the time that I saw the band. Exact dates and years and all that kind of stuff is a little bit hazy, but these are sort of memorable concerts for me for one reason or another, okay? We're going to start off with My Bloody Valentine. And My Bloody Valentine stands out because it is easily the loudest concert I've ever been to. They were handing out earplugs at the show, but I think we actually bought earplugs before the show that actually were higher quality earplugs, and trust me, they were totally needed for this gig. This is the My Bloody Valentine reunion album, but when I saw them, they hadn't made this album yet, and they were just touring. And they had this song at the end. I think people refer to it now as the Holocaust or something like that. It's not on any of their albums, but it's just 15 minutes of utter feedback and noise, and I still remember that. We had the earplugs in our ears, we had our fingers in our ears, and still you could hear the noise, and it was just unbearable, and you were just praying and hoping that song would just end. I've never experienced anything like that in my life at a concert, and it was torturous at the time, but now looking back, it's actually quite cool. So first on the list, My Bloody Valentine. Easily the second loudest concert that I've ever been to, Dinosaur Jr. I believe the tour that we saw them for was for this album, Farm, which is one of Dinosaur Jr.'s reunion albums, where the original trio of Jay Mascis, Lou Barlow, and Murph reunited. And this was an amazing album. It was probably my first or second album of the year that it came out. And like I said, easily the second loudest concert that I've been to. The one blemish about this particular show was Murph wasn't playing drums for this show. They had to get the roadie, I guess, to play the drums because there was some issue with him getting into Canada. I don't know if it was drug related or past violations or something along those lines, but that was a bit of a disappointment. Lou Barlow solo actually opened up the show, which was kind of weird, and then he, obviously he was on stage with Jay for the Dinosaur Jr., and this was at, I think it was at the Phoenix in Toronto, and yeah, easily the second loudest show that I've ever been to. Okay, next we have Seger Ross. This is Seger Ross's most recent album. I'm going to butcher this name. Kavaikar, I think is how you say it. And I saw Seger Ross for the TAC album at Massey Hall, many years ago, and this was easily, again, one of the best shows that I've ever been to. The opening track, they had these curtains draped across the stage, and the band was playing in behind them, and you saw these elongated shadows of the band playing. It was really, really cool together with the music to watch. I love the way the drums were set up on to the side of the stage, kind of sideways, where you can actually see quite well the drummer playing, rather than sort of being in the middle, hidden in the back, where you couldn't really see a lot depending on your angle. But again, one of the best shows that I've ever seen, Seger Ross. Okay, the next one, Tortoise. I don't know how well Tortoise is known out there in the VC, but I saw them. It wasn't for this album. This is their album, Beacons of Ancestorship. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Beacons of Ancestorship. I saw Tortoise twice live just prior to this album. And the unique thing about Tortoise, they sort of play a blend of post-rock, electronica / jazz. It's, you know, it kind of combines many different genres. And the unique thing is 2 drum sets set up sideways at the very front of the stage, where you can, you know, really see the drummers go to work. John McIntyre and John Hurden, for the most part, play the drums, but Tortoise is a band where the members regularly rotate through all the different instruments, and some of them playing, you know, 2 or 3 different instruments throughout the show. Really amazing to watch, and you know, again, easily one of the best shows that I've ever been to. Okay, the next one. This is the album, I Just Can't Stop It, from the English Beat, or The Beat. Never saw The Beat, but I did see Dave Wakeling, the lead singer of The Beat, live. It was the only show that I've ever managed to get on a guest list from the artist. I had a couple of email exchanges with Dave Wakeling, and then just casually mentioned that I tried to go see him one time, and I guess the show was sold out and whatnot. And he said, "Okay, so let's put you on the guest list for the next time I'm in Toronto." So really nice of him to do that. Didn't think it would pan out, but it did. This particular show that I saw Dave Wakeling, he was billed as the English Beat, but he's really the only member of the English Beat. But he had as guests for this show Pauline Black from The Selector and Linville Golding from The Specials. So it was kind of a ska fest, if you will, where they played some Selector tunes, some of the more well-known hits, some special songs like Monkey Man, Nightclub. It was amazing to hear all those songs, all those great ska classics, together with all the beat songs that I love. This is my second favorite album of all time. They played nearly this entire album. It was an unbelievable show. This was at Lee's Palace, a very small club in Toronto. Amazing. Next, we have Neil Young. The interesting thing about Neil Young is I actually bought tickets to the Neil Young show really to see one of the opening bands, which is Wilco, because I was heavily into Wilco at the time. And Neil Young was sort of the bonus, if you will. But I came out of that show such a huge Neil Young fan. It was unbelievable. He just blew me away. It was for the Fork in the Road tour. I don't have that album, but I'm showing this album because there was some unbelievable live versions of some classics like Down by the River, Cowgirl in the Sand. And it didn't stop there. You know, he played everything you'd want him to play. Like a Hurricane, Heart of Gold. It was an unbelievable show. All the acoustic stuff, the harmonica playing was unbelievable. But the guitar playing, wow, just incredible. Neil Young's live guitar was just searing throughout the show, and I don't know, man. It was again, one of the, I'm saying this a lot, but it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. And when he came on stage, the weird thing was, even though I was there to see Wilco, when Neil Young came on stage and there was the ovation from the crowd, you really felt like you were seeing a legend, like there was a living legend there on stage, and it's just this weird sort of out-of-body experience to witness something like that. Next, a reunion show by Slowdive. This is Slowdive's reunion album, and much like My Bloody Valentine, I saw Slowdive on their reunion tour that happened actually before they got together to release this album. It was a double bill with Low at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto. Amazing double bill. I'd seen Low live a couple of times before that, and some of the best concerts too that I've seen was seeing Low headline. But honestly, at that show, I couldn't wait for Low to get off stage so that Slowdive would come on. And I kind of got into Slowdive through the back door. I initially got into the band Mojave 3, and they were my favorite band at one time, sort of alt-core, alt-country, slowcore type of band. And then I found out, oh, these guys used to be in the band Slowdive, so kind of backwards there, but you know, that's the truth. And then never did I ever imagine when I was seeing Mojave 3 live, which I think I saw maybe 3 times, never did I ever imagine that Slowdive would reunite and that I would see them live and that they would make an album. So that's why they're on this list. I said earlier that seeing Neil Young was like seeing a living legend. That same thing applies to this next artist, Robert Plant. This is a 10-inch EP called More Roar. It was released on a Record Store Day after the release of Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar. I saw Robert Plant on the Band of Joy tour, which was the album that he made after the album that he had made with Alison Krauss. So very Americana kind of feel. And I think I saw him at the, what was it called? I think it's now called the Sony Center. I don't know if it was called something else at the time, maybe the Hummingbird Center or something like that. But again, when he hits the stage, you're feeling like you're seeing a living legend there on stage. And I think the Sony Center is one of the best venues in Toronto. Great acoustics. The floor is sloped, so you don't have to worry about being blocked by people ahead of you. And such an amazing set list of the newer tracks from the Band of Joy album, but also some amazing versions of Led Zeppelin classics. Tangerine stands out to me as being a particularly good version. Gallows Pole, another amazing song. Another living legend, Robert Plant. The only time that I've seen Robert Plant live. My favorite band of all time, The Police. This is Ghost in the Machine. Obviously, I've never shown this in any video before. It's probably my least favorite Police album, but I still love it. I saw The Police 3 times on their reunion tour that covered 2007 and 2008. Each subsequent time I got closer and closer to the stage. The first time that I saw them, I was up in the 500 level. This was at what was then known as the Air Canada Centre. Today it's Scotiabank Arena. The second time I saw them, I think it was in the 200 levels. And the third time was 14th row. Unbelievable 14th row. It was a dream come true seeing The Police live. Again, never thought that they would reunite. It kind of felt like unfinished business. They needed to kind of put closure to the way that they broke up back in the mid '80s, and it was just a dream come true. The amount of money that I spent on those 3 sets of tickets plus any merch at that show was easily the most I've ever spent on any band. But again, well worth it to see your favorite band. Next, we have the Stone Roses. I've shown this album before, Second Coming. I was fortunate enough to see the Stone Roses on the tour for the Second Coming. Unfortunately, by this point in time, Rennie had left, the drummer had left the band, and they had Robbie Maddox on drums, and they also had a keyboardist, Nigel, I think Ibsen was his name. It kind of felt like you were seeing three members of the Stone Roses with sort of two hired hands. It was still a really good show. Well, the one thing that I do remember from this show, a couple of things. It was in some kind of hangar of some sort that I've never been to before for any show. I remember that. I remember the first three songs sounding really good, and then after that, the sound being very poor, especially Ian Brown's vocals. I mean, he's always been criticized for his live vocals, and after third song, I think it was Waterfall, things got really bad. And the final thing that I remember was, I think they ended the show with I Am the Resurrection, left the stage, the lights remained off, people were shouting encore, and then after maybe about 10-15 minutes, the lights came on and the crowd got really angry that there was no encore. I think people were hoping, from what I remember, for an encore of Fool's Gold. But I think the Stone Roses at that time really never played, when they played live, never really did an encore. I don't know if they did that on their most recent reunion tours, but I think at that time I was saying to my my now wife, then girlfriend, you know what, I don't think these guys are coming back out, and boy, did the crowd let them have it. But at least I got to see the Stone Roses, even though it wasn't with their full lineup. And then finally, again under the category of living legend, Bob Dylan, the album Tempest. I saw Bob Dylan on the tour for this album, but the tour was a festival actually called Americanarama. This was at the Molson Amphitheatre in Toronto. It was a 4-band festival. Opened up in the afternoon by Richard Thompson, followed by My Morning Jacket, followed by Wilco, and then followed by Dylan. And it was quite an experience seeing Dylan. He kind of croaked his way through the songs, but the band sounded unbelievable. Just hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. The band sounded unbelievable. They played a lot of songs from this album, a couple of older classics. I remember All Along the Watchtower. We were able to move from our seats for part of the show to get a little bit closer. The stage was kept very, very dark, and Dylan spent most of the time at this stage behind a keyboard. Only, I think maybe for one or two songs did he come up front, which really got the crowd going. But again, I felt, you know what, I'm going mainly for Wilco and My Morning Jacket, but again, the bonus was Dylan. But like the Neil Young concert, seeing Dylan live, living legend, it was incredible. There was an incredible feeling in the air seeing him. And the Neil Young concert was much better, but still, really, really happy to see Dylan. Okay, so that's, I think I did 11 there, maybe not 10, but I'm going to do 3 really quickly. Bands that I didn't see live, that I now regret that I didn't see live, and I won't be able to see them now because they're no longer active. But certainly I could have seen them if I probably tried a little bit harder, okay? The first band, definitely I wish I had seen these guys, REM. This is Document. More than enough opportunity, I think, to see these guys. I got into REM after hearing the song Fall On Me, then Document followed. I was heavily into this album. My favorite REM album is Out of Time. I love that album. I love Automatic for the People and Document, and I really don't have a good explanation as to why I didn't see REM. Next, and this was a band that Sam showed on his video, Nirvana. This is the Unplugged album, of course. Again, don't have a good explanation as to why I didn't see these guys. This was during my peak years for going to gigs, which was you know, in the 90s, I really should have gone to see Nirvana, and I don't know why. And then finally, Canadian icons, Rush. I mean, I was always a casual Rush fan, and considering how good these guys are live, and that they're from Canada, again, no excuse. I wish I had seen these guys. Okay guys, the video was a little bit long this time, about 20 minutes. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.